On Monday and Tuesday of this week, we looked at the stories of the cursing of the fig tree and the cleansing of the temple. The first two stories Mark records in the 2 days after Jesus' entry into Jerusalem on Palm Sunday. Mark uses a literary device called intercalation, sandwiching, to add a layer of meaning that is deeper than if the two stories simply existed side by side. Recall that Jesus passes by a fig tree on his way into Jerusalem, and seeing that it had no fruit, he curses it. Then he enters the temple and casts out people who were exchanging money and who were buying and selling animals for sacrifices. Then, the next morning, when Jesus and the disciples are going back into Jerusalem, they pass by the fig tree again, and they see that it is withered to its roots. Jesus uses it as an object lesson about faith. Using the literary device of intercalation, Mark makes clear that the cleansing of the temple isn't just about commerce in the temple, but about the barrenness of the faith of the people who were both selling and buying. Which naturally begs the question, what does fruitful faith actually look like? That's what we'll see today. Hello, I'm Stuart Baskin, pastor of First Presbyterian Church of Tyler, Texas, and this is your daily devotional for Wednesday, March 27th, 2024. All this week I'm looking at stories of what happened between Palm Sunday and Easter. The Gospels all spend a great deal of time on this 1 week. In the case of the Gospel of John, almost half of the entire Gospel focuses on Palm Sunday and afterward, including post-resurrection appearances. Taken as a whole, these stories serve in part to set up the conflict between Jesus and the religious authorities that will result in his crucifixion. Today's story is not the very next story in Mark's Holy Week narrative, but it certainly serves as a stark contrast to the common faith of the leaders and most of the people. If the stories of the cursing of the fig tree and the cleansing of the temple highlight what a barren faith looks like, today's story shows us what a vital, living faith looks like. We know the story as the widow's mite. Mark writes, "He sat down opposite the treasury and watched the crowd putting money into the treasury. Many rich people put in large sums. A poor widow came and put in 2 small copper coins, which are worth a penny. Then he called his disciples and said to them, 'Truly I tell you, this poor widow has put in more than all those who are contributing to the treasury. For all of them have contributed out of their abundance. But she, out of her poverty, has put in everything she had, all she had to live on.'" In the King James Version of the Bible, the word for 2 small coins was mite, from a Flemish coin, the very smallest and least valuable coin of the realm. That's why we continue to call the story the widow's mite. The story is that what she placed in the offering container in the temple represented the most modest amount of money possible. And yet, says Jesus, it represented all she had and was therefore more than anybody else put in. What Jesus is doing here is making an intentional contrast between the kind of religion that is all about appearances and going through the motions versus true religion, which asks not just for one's money, but for one's very soul, one's very heart. Again, we saw yesterday that the cleansing of the temple wasn't simply because there was buying and selling going on. Indeed, there was actually a pretty good reason for it. People used Roman currency in daily life, but that money had to be changed into shekels for offerings to the temple. And it was used for people traveling a long distance. People needed to buy animals to sacrifice them in the temple, and they found it more convenient to purchase those animals at the temple rather than bring them along with them on the long trip. No, the problem was that for many, if not most people, their religious commitments ended there. A barren religion. By contrast, the poor widow demonstrated what true faith, a faithful, fruitful faith, looked like. It calls for commitment, for sacrifice. I'm reminded of a line from a hymn we often sing during Holy Week, which I often use to call for the offering on Sunday morning, and which we also use as our doxology during Lent. It's the fourth stanza of the hymn, When I Survey the Wondrous Cross. The line is, "Were the whole realm of nature mine, that were a present far too small. Love so amazing, so divine, demands my soul, my life, my all." And that is exactly what the widow offered, her soul, her life, her all. Tomorrow, we'll follow Jesus into the upper room as he prepares for his Last Supper. But for now, may God continue to bless you and keep you in all that you do this day and in all the days ahead.